This is the picturesque town of Portimao, located in the stunning Algarve region of southern Portugal, home to its famous golden beaches, dramatic cliffs, and the Kartódromo do Algarve. In 2024, the Algarve circuit plays host to the FIA Karting World Championships for the second time. But it's a first for the gearbox categories of KZ, KZ2, and KZ2 Masters. After an already dramatic 2024 season for the classes, the eyes of the world were looking with anticipation ahead of what would be a frantic weekend. With 186 drivers from all over the globe racing in the three categories in Portugal, it's anyone's game, as the weather also hadn't decided what to do, but with drivers focused, determined, and ready for anything. With the European Championship over in 2024, three drivers had the opportunity to do the double: Lorenzo Travassanuto in KZ, Matteo Spergel in KZ2, and Ricardo Nallon in KZ2 Masters, as all three were present and ready for the Worlds in Portugal. Let's dive on board with Santiago de Costa Ribeiro around the Portimao circuit. You're absolutely flat out through turn 1, climbing up to 157 kilometers an hour. Heavy on the brakes into turns 2, 3 and 4 that arrive very quickly. A short rest as you climb up the gears into the hairpin of turn 5. Easy to get a pass here, so you need to watch your line. Up the gears once again as you head around the left-handers of turn 6 and 7 as you prepare for the braking zone for turns 8 and 9. Double apex here as you head downhill. Again, track position is vital as the track changes from left to right into turns 10, 11, 12 and 13. The final sector at Portimao is the most demanding from any kart track. Uphill, tight but fast as you head around turns 14 and 15. The last two turns of 16 and 17 are the hardest to get right. Easy to unsettle the kart as you lose all the speed as you head and finish the lap here at Portimao. "2024 marks the first full season for the Masters in FIA Karting, with the season starting in Spain at the Motorland circuit and then to Italy at Valverbrata, where at the end of the season, Ricardo Nallon would be crowned European champion. But in Portimao, the Worlds could go to anyone, as 55 drivers are whittled down to just 36 for the final, starting with Anthony Abbasse from France on pole position, after dominating the weekend up until the final. Daniel Bray from New Zealand would start alongside after also having a near-perfect weekend. Andre Nicastro would secure a third-place start for the final as the Brazilian prepared to redeem himself from last year after finishing 32nd in 2023. Christian Bertuca would lock out row 2 as he looked for glory from P4 on the grid in Portimao. The long wait was over as KZ2 Masters final got underway in Portugal, and a very similar story occurred at the start that we'd seen all weekend. Anthony Abbasse and Daniel Bray driving away at the front of the field. At the end of the first lap, Vincent Cossard from France had made up ground, getting into third place. This allowed the two ahead of Abbasse and Bray to sneak even further away. As the battles behind continued, multiple world karting champion Davide Foré, after dropping a place, was now on the charge back, closing in on Bertuca ahead, who also didn't get the best start. Others look back to P11, seeing the incredible charge from Cosaglio, who would gain 7 places on the opening lap. Lap 3 and the gap was coming down for the race lead. Daniel Bray's pace had picked up, with the New Zealander putting in the fastest lap of the race, keeping the pressure on Abbasse in the lead as the two continued to drive away from the rest of the field. This would be an ongoing battle for nearly the whole race. Lap 4 and Rasmus Haugaard of Denmark started to attack P8 on André Serafim, the two going wheel to wheel at turn number 4. Vincent Cossard was now the fastest driver on track, the Frenchman starting to close in on the top 2. Davide Foré continued his charge as he maintained a close distance to Bertuca as their battle went on for quite some while. until Davide Fore eventually went for the move, the Italian getting up into P5 and continuing his final charge in Portugal. His move then started a ripple effect down the line, as later on the same lap, Algarve was back on the attack as he made the move on Thomas Mick for P8, which then caused the pack to bunch up even more, putting Alessandro Minetti in a difficult situation, the Italian clipping the rear wheel of Thomas Mick at turn 9, forcing Minetti well back into the pack. Despite best efforts to keep his karts in the race, unfortunately, the damage was already done, forcing the Italian to retire and losing out on his chance for another world title 10 years after winning his last. Then more drama struck, this time for the Frenchman Vincent Cossard after contact with Andre Nicastro. Lap 13 and the lead fight was still on. The top two locked in battle as Cosaglio's charge was still impressing everyone in the final, the Italian now up 12 places just outside the top 5. But at the end of the final, the battle was won for Abbasse, crossing the line clear by just 0.4 of a second from Daniel Bray, who in the end would have to settle for P2. Anthony Abbasse now becomes the second Frenchman to win the International Masters Super Cup since the series started in 2022, and for him and the Sodi team, the weekend was only going to get better. The top 10 at the end of the International Masters Super Cup is Anthony Abbasse from Daniel Bray and Davide Fore, followed by Christian Haublin, Manuel Cosaglio, Rasmus Haugaard, Thomas Mick, André Serafim, Roberto Papico, and Ricardo Nallon. The tension was now released for the top 3. The 2024 season was over, and they can now reflect on a job well done as they prepare themselves for next season and 2025 to see what it could bring for all 3 of them.
Yeah, I feel very satisfied. It's a sort of revenge for the European Championship. So we won this race, and it's a great achievement of the season, and we take a lot of pleasure.
Yes, this is the second year we win this category. Honestly, after the first championship last year, I thought the confidence, everything about karting would be less, but not true. Every year is a new adventure. Every year is a new opportunity. I'm really happy of this work. Many thanks to Sodikart that believe in our racing team.
Obviously, to come so close with second, but I need to look at the positive sides and actually be happy for Parolin, happy for Modena Kart, for everyone who's made this possible. I think the weather obviously was the curveball, but the one thing my starts were awesome all weekend, and I probably was a bit aggressive on the clutch for that last one, and it burst into wheel spin. So maybe Anthony did his homework overnight, and as he said he was going to, and got a better start. But I definitely, that's the one thing of that race I think which could have changed it, was if I got to turn 1 first.
Of course, the team has to do everything. We do everything to be, again on the first step of the podium. Maybe we miss a bit the quali, and when you start to rough back was already more complicated. Probably until half race, when I was free, maybe I can be with them. But I believe also the last 4 or 5 laps, it was a little bit quicker, of course.
KZ2 in 2024 was one of the closest championships we'd seen for years. After not winning a final, Matteo Spergel of France was European champion at the end of the 2-round season in Italy. But heading to the Worlds at Portimao, only one driver was proving to be an unstoppable force, and that was Cristian Bertuca. 101 drivers entered into the weekend, and that was now down to just the 36, which ahead of them sat a 20-lap final to do battle for the World Cup title. After a perfect weekend, Bertuca was on pole. He would be joined by Matías Morgado, the former FIA World Champion in OK back in 2022. The second row also saw talent, with Paavo Tontteri starting P3, the Finn looking for his best result in FIA karting. The KZ2 final was a go, and immediately Bertuca covers off Morgado to help maintain the lead. However, Daniel Vasile from P5 on lap 1 was out after a scary moment into the barriers, which left the Romanian slightly unhappy. The race restarted on lap 4, and Bertuca caught Morgado sleeping on the restart as he broke away from the field, leaving Morgado to defend from Paavo Tontteri and the rest of the massive restart train behind. This lead, however, would disappear as the race went on. Morgado would slowly reel in Bertuca's lead as the drivers behind started to make up places, with Jean Nimblon up 3 places into P6. Lap 6 and the fight for P4 was on. Dion van Verven was in control of the group as he made his way past Yanis Ivico, which kept the whole of the top 10 nice and close. No room was given by any driver. However, the determination by Artem Sevrukin meant that he was able to keep the pressure on Jean Nimblon, and then later would take the position away on lap 7 into turn 10. Nimblon would then also be under pressure from Maxim Orlov, who was also making his way through the field. The two coming together at turn 14, causing a ripple effect down the line. Sevrukin would later close in on Dion van Verven at the halfway point of the race, but Van Verven was able to hold his own as the battle between the two continued on. Despite the best efforts from Sevrukin, he was unable to find the gap until lap 13, where he'd send it down the inside at turn 3, which secured him P5. The fight between Savico and Nimblon still continued as the two were constantly switching places, which in turn kept the field behind bunched up, which also meant battles as Jungling, Spurgel and Orlov went 3 wide on the exit of turn 13 in a great display of racing. Orlov would now have the chance to get past Savico, sending it down the inside at turn 4 and moving him up into P7 on track. Eyes turned back to the race lead as Morgado was now right on Bertuca's tail after the early breakaway. The two were now locked in for the rest of the race, swapping best laps and sector times. The tension on and off the track could be felt by many, as Morgado's pace was looking to be just that little bit faster nearing the end of the race. Paavo Tontteri was having a fairly calm and quiet race from his point of view, seeing the two battling ahead, just keeping him in the lead fight. But the confidence from Bertuca could be seen from a mile away. The Italian so far over the weekend had not been beaten. But the final lap certainly proved a challenge, with Morgado piling on the pressure, and the same could be said for Sevrukin for third. But the vice champion in KZ2 in 2022 proved not only to himself but the world that he could do it. But 2024 was going to be the year for Cristian Bertuca. The young Italian, at just 18 years of age, becomes the World Cup champion in Portugal by just 0.2 of a second over the line. After missing out in 2023, for Bertuca, this was a weight off the shoulders. He was now getting to grips with the fact that he had done it, and every driver knew he deserved it. The top 10 at the end of the KZ2 World Cup is Cristian Bertuca from Matías Morgado and Paavo Tontteri, followed by Artem Sevrukin, Dion van Verven, Jean Nimblon, Maxim Orlov, Yanis Ivico, Anatoly Kavalkin and Gianni Andrusani. The weekend couldn't have gone any better for the top 3. Tontteri comes away with his best FIA karting result, Morgado delighted for the team, and Bertuca, who can finally check this one off the list as the 2024 season comes to an end in Portugal.
At the beginning, I didn't know what could happen, but after all the wins, I didn't say in myself I win, but I was really determined to make it happen. Yeah, I feel really well. I'm really excited after the result, and we work really hard for all the season, and there we can see the result for all the team.
Yeah, no, you couldn't get much of a better result, to be honest. Obviously, Christian and Mateus have done a fantastic job all weekend. You know, these races are all about consistency, not only the job in the final. So first thoughts are please don't crash. But no, they're mature boys. They know what the limit is between each other, and they prove that.
I'm happy. I'm happy for the team. I think Christian deserved the win. I was really confident going into the final. I think I could have won this one. Small mistake in the slow down restart costed me a bit. So, anyways, happy with the result. I think it's my first year doing all the races in KZ. So yeah, happy with that. I guess I'll just need to try again. I knew our race pace was really good, but that's a hard track to overtake. So I knew I was going to catch him near the end. It's already hard to overtake when the person is not closing, and usually the last laps of the race you want to close, you want to give it all. So it's not the easiest track to overtake. I just didn't want to do anything stupid, so yeah, that's how the race ended.
Yeah, certainly. I feel like it's been a long time coming. Many times I've been close, and yeah, just really grateful for CRG to having the faith in me and to finally repay them with this result. I feel like the grid is really competitive. From my point of view, the final was relatively eventless. I had one, I could say, half of our overtaking opportunity on Matthews after the restart, but apart from that, there weren't really anything going on, and it was just pushing 100% from the red lights to the end.
The premier class in short-circuit gearbox racing, KZ's 2024 season had been an electric one, with the season starting in Spain and then heading to Italy. It would be Lorenzo Travassanuto claiming the European title. For the Worlds in Portimao, it was a weekend for many. Senna van Wallstein had been the man to beat over the weekend. Pole in qualifying, 2 heat wins and a superheat. But it would be Pedro Hiltbrand starting on pole position for the final ahead of the 30-car field. The eyes of the world were watching as the field prepared to do battle for one last time in the 2024 season. With only one heat win, Hiltbrand secures pole position. The Spaniard was no stranger to starting on the front row, but Senna van Wallstein would start from P2 after a sprocket failed in the qualifying heats. It was all about the start in the KZ final, and it was Senna van Wallstein who nailed it, getting the race lead before turn 1, meaning Hiltbrand was on the back foot from the word go. The start from the rest of the field was also a good one, as the field remained close in the early stages of the race. But after an earlier performances from van Wallstein, you could tell the others were worried of another breakaway race from the front. For one driver though, it was the least of their worries, as down into turn 8, disaster would strike for Victor Gustafsson. After not having the best qualifying, the driver from Sweden was out on lap 1 of the final. With the race continuing, van Wallstein's lead was increasing more and more, meaning drivers behind needed to come up with a plan, as no one wanted to see a world title being won by a large gap. David Trefilov was one to make the moves early, going down the inside at turn 16 on Jeremy Iglesias, pushing him down 2 places on the opening lap of the final. Arthur Carbonell would also get an early lap overtake, getting past Adil Wenedin into turn 1. The battle for the lead was on. The top 3, van Wallstein, Hiltbrand and Palomba, were separated by just 0.3 of a second, as Hiltbrand was piling on the pressure over the start-finish line. We'd have to wait some time for the lead to change, as the top 3 focused on trying to open up a gap to the rest of the field. Trefilov, however, was doing his best to close in on the top three after setting personal best sectors. Lap by lap, the gaps stayed the same as the chasing packs behind started to lose hope. But at the midway point of the race, things started to get a little bit tense at the front and a little further back too. The replay showing a move by Stan Pex on Jeremy Iglesias, forcing the Frenchman out of the final for the second year in a row. Meanwhile, the fight at the front was as close as it could be, as finally on lap 10, Hiltbrand went for the lead at turn 14, getting past Van Wallstein and kick-starting the ultimate battle for the race lead. However, it wouldn't last long for Hiltbrand, as Van Wallstein sent it down the inside at turn 3, but with the two locked in battle, no one saw Giuseppe Palomba sneak his way past them both into the race lead. Hiltbrand would end up in P4 behind David Trefilov, trying to fight back, but with no hope. He'd have to wait until lap 13 to get another attempt, but again, Trefilov would deny the place to Hiltbrand. But a mistake 1 lap later would get Hiltbrand back into the top 3, but down 2 seconds from the race leader. A long while later, the determination from Hiltbrand could be seen as he managed to close the gap to Senna Van Wallstein. This daring move down the inside at turn 1 was one last attempt to get back into P2. But 2024 would see Italy back on top in the World Championship. Giuseppe Palomba, the vice champion in KZ2 in 2020, was now KZ World Champion in 2024, after the most dramatic fight for the lead over the weekend. After finishing this same event 26th last year, you could say this one was redemption for Giuseppe Palomba. A once great driver said, "You will never know the feeling of a driver when winning a race. The helmet hides feelings that cannot be understood, and in 2024, Giuseppe Palomba gets that very same feeling here in Portimao." The top 10 at the end of the FIA KZ World Championships is Giuseppe Palomba from Senna Van Wallstein and Pedro Hiltbrand, followed by David Trefilov, Arthur Carbonell, Jorge Pescador, Stan Pex, Lorenzo Travassanuto, Daniel Albanese and Paolo Ippolito. The KZ final marks the end of the 2024 season. After such a hectic and demanding weekend for everyone, the top 3 can relax and recuperate on what was a job well done in Portimao. But it's not over for KZ, as the 2025 season is only months away.
Yes, I have no words for that results. Big thanks to Saudi Kart, to all CPB Sport, Flow, all Sunny competition for the engine, and I have no words for that. Unbelievable.
It's incredible as well. I have to speak about the team. G-Kart Factory, they give us the best package, to be honest. It was amazing. They worked so hard during so many years to arrive to this level. And now, 1, 2, everyone knows Senna is really, really strong driver every time at the top, winning. And now the new world champions, Giuseppe. It's amazing, it's amazing.
Yes, up until the final was almost a 10 out of 10. But obviously I'm really happy for the team, first of all. For Giuseppe, they really happy he won as well. I'm not gonna lie, I hoped I was on top step. But in the end of the day, we were really strong in both of conditions, exceptional in the wet, I think. And so we can be proud of ourselves with the team, and engine tuner Sani, like, they make it work.
Yeah, it's been a special weekend for me, for the team. I want to say thank you to all of them. Congrats to Cristian on KZ2. Congrats to Anthony, to Giuseppe. Difficult final. Now for sure I'm angry, but this is high level karting. Now move on and see next year what happens.
Portimao marks the end of the 2024 FIA karting season, and for 3 drivers, they leave Portugal world champions. In KZ2 Masters, Anthony Abbasse becomes the 2024 International Masters Super Cup champion. In KZ2, Cristian Bertuca gets to enjoy a very emotional end to his 2024 season as he becomes FIA Karting World Cup champion in an amazing display on track over the weekend. The Italian surely knows his 2025 season is going to be a bright one. And in KZ, it's Italy once again on top with Giuseppe Palomba, the FIA Karting KZ World Champion in 2024. After starting the weekend qualifying P10 and the domination from Senna van Waldstein, no one predicted this young 23-year-old to shock the world in Portimao. But with the views from his team, proves they believed in him from the word go.